everyone, and welcome to Already Cancelled. I am Peter, and that is Tara, and we are going to talk about the Twilight Zone Season 1, Episode 34. Hey, that's a fun number. This is called The After Hours.
I can't think of why. There's nothing particularly special about the number 34.
There's one thing. There's one thing in particular. This episode is called The After Hours, and it's about a woman who has a very strange encounter at a department store where she's taken to a floor that doesn't exist, the 9th floor, when this building only has a... Oh, can I first comment I want to make about this department store.
Okay.
Have you ever been in a department store that has 8 floors to itself, like where the entire thing is one store?
Mm-hmm.
Really? Okay. I was going to critique that, but fair enough.
They're not very common, but yes, in like really, really large cities like Tokyo, New York, they have that multiple floors for.
No, I've been in ones that have maybe had 3 floors to themselves.
No, I know what you're talking about, but they're like a lot smaller but taller.
Sure, okay.
Tokyo especially, like that's just how they design buildings. So.
Okay, all right. I'm pretty sure this is not set in Tokyo, but in fact, I think
it's not.
They said Cleveland,
no,
I think.
But I have seen it. Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not very common. I think it was more common before.
Sure. Okay. Fair enough. All right. I retract any comment I was going to make. No, almost hitting the mic. All right. So she has a weird experience. She goes to this floor that doesn't exist, the 9th floor. Her name's Marsha. Marsha! Why did you say that name? Not that. I'm sorry.
I like how we did 2 different pop culture references.
Yes, I did. But I had to think about what that was. I was like, man, that movie's leaving my mind.
That thing you try to block from your memory.
Yeah, I've remembered the meme, but I don't remember the movie that well. And you did the Brady Bunch, and I only know that because she made that joke before we started recording, and she told me what it was.
I can't believe you don't know Marsha.
Brady Bunch wasn't really a thing in the UK growing up. No one watched it.
Apparently not.
I cared. We're all too busy watching. I don't know.
Are You Being Served?
What, as kids? No. I've not even seen that as an adult.
Just try to think of something British.
I don't know. Fawlty Towers.
Bouquet.
So she goes up to this 9th floor. It's very weird. It's very quiet. There's there's no customers. There's one employee who's not even there at first. She kind of appears from around a corner, kind of creepily at one point, and she purchases a gold thimble from her, and it's the only item there. There's no items for sale. There's no merchandise. It's just the thimble, and it's kind of weird. And then when she's leaving, she notices there's a problem with it, so she tries to return it to the store manager, and is informed that there is no 9th floor. And then, of course, there's the obvious big shock before the ad break, which is that mannequin looks a lot like the woman I spoke to upstairs, and that kind of leads us into. And we'll get to the twist and what's really going on by the end. But that is the gist of this episode. We got kind of excited because it sounded like a good horror episode. Mannequins possibly coming to life and whatever else. So I will ask the question. Tara, did you enjoy The After Hours?
Yes.
Straight, no nonsense answer. I love it. Yes, I also enjoyed it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. What I did not enjoy is that my Blu-ray disc skipped like a few seconds at one point. I was concerned.
You should be.
You
should return it. Go back to the 9th floor and return it.
I've owned it for like 6 years. I think I'm past beyond the return date. Hey Amazon, I ordered this like 6 years ago. No one had even heard of Brexit or anything like that yet. But like, can I return this?
Brexit's such a stupid name
and
idea.
I know, of course it is. You know what?
But yeah, I like this episode. I think it's pretty effective with the creepiness, with the horror. It's a little bit predictable, but I still like the twist.
It is predictable. Yeah. I do think the creepiness is easily the most effective creepy stuff that the show's done yet.
They have some clever shots that I think are more effective with horror.
And a lot of it is because it doesn't say anything. They shut up and they have it all be visual. There's actually an extended sequence in this in the second half where it's just quietly looking around and being scared, and there's no music. It's just quiet. It's eerie.
Yeah.
It's well done.
You know what it made me think of? Did you ever watch Night Gallery?
I did not. No.
Okay, it's kind of the next Twilight Zone. I think it's Night Gallery. There was an episode, I think it was done by Spielberg, where a lady loses her sight, her vision, and she's like walking around in rooms, but it's all black, and she's like trying to feel, and like it's totally silent, and she's brightly lit, but everything around her is black, and she's like trying to move around and stuff. And I don't know why, but it reminded me of that.
Okay.
One of those episodes. I think it's a pretty famous episode of
Because
Night Gallery because I think it's Spielberg.
Serling did Night Gallery, right? That was his show too.
Yeah.
So, no, I thought the creepiness worked quite well. The twist, which of course is that she's actually also one of the mannequins, and the mannequins all take turns having 1 month where they get to be a part of the real world. And the story here is that once you've spent some time in the real world, you forget you're a mannequin, and that's what this plot is that she's forgotten that this is what she is, and she doesn't want to go back, which is maybe an interesting decision to have her just go, oh, you know what, you're right, I forgot I was a mannequin. Like, I almost expected it to go down this path where she didn't want to come back, and like the reason why she'd forgotten is because like the idea of going back to this was so unappealing, and like she wanted to be alive and be herself, and it made me it raised some interesting questions for me, because I was thinking like, so where was she living? Like, did they have like a timeshare? They share like one apartment, so there's always one of them living there, so they always go to the same place, you know?
Maybe
like,
they don't need to sleep or anything. Maybe they just wander around.
Oh, maybe, yeah. And how when she pays for the thimble, how does she have money? Like, where did the money come from? Do they have like a job they share? Like, is there some manager somewhere who just doesn't question the fact that
I'm sure it's pretty easy for them to get money before they leave. They live in a department store.
Oh, yeah, so one of the mannequins is good at cracking the safe.
Yeah. I mean, they're always watching. I'm sure they can see.
That's true.
It's a bit of a Toy Story episode, huh?
Yeah. Well, I think I made that comparison when we heard about it last week. As I said, it sounds kind of like Toy Story. You know, when the humans leave, all the mannequins come to life. So it's interesting that it's really creepy as an episode, as a concept, but obviously the ending kind of says, no, it's not actually creepy. They just want to take turns being in the world. They're not doing anything sinister.
Here's the question.
Mm-hmm.
When you cast, do you cast people who already look like mannequins you have, or do you make mannequins to look like who you cast?
You have to make them. You have to make the mannequins.
Okay.
I mean,
I was curious.
It's maybe more expensive, but it's far easier to do. You'll be spending ages looking for people who look like your mannequins if you do it that way around.
Probably just go through headshots.
No, I think Joe, actually, this episode has something unique in it that I don't think's happened, and it's not a big thing. It's a simple little thing, but I don't think the show's done it yet. And this is the first time, because it really stuck out to me when it happened. This is the first time, as far as I can remember, on this show where there was a scene that cut away from the main character, and we went to other characters having a scene together where the main character was not involved.
I guess so.
I don't think we've ever done that, because we have the whole first half where she goes up into the elevator and she goes to the store, 9th floor, and we come back. I think it's after the ad break where she's had her scream, maybe, or maybe it's before the scream.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
but it cuts to the office, and it's like the manager and like the assistant manager or whoever, or the manager and the local area manager. I don't know, whoever this other guy is. The
comic relief.
Yeah, and they're just like talking about the fact that she thinks there's a 9th floor, and I'm like, this is weird. We've never cut to other characters like have a scene. We've maybe had like 2 characters talk while the main character's knocked out or something like that, but they're still technically there. Like, they're still in the scene.
Yeah, I guess so. I think there was a scene with that one with the time traveling airplane pilot where like the colonel and like another captain were talking or something.
Ah, you're right. But at least in that case, it was like they just walked out of the room where they were like interrogating him or something like that.
Yeah, I guess I can't really remember. I think there was a scene something similar.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I mean, I think you're right. This is
because the ending of that episode did have them together when he went back, right? But that was like after he kind of died, so it was like, yeah, of course he's not here. But I don't know. It felt so surreal to me, at least in the middle of an episode, to just cut to these two characters who we hadn't even really seen that much of. Like these were just like, oh, here's these two characters talking about the main
Yeah,
character. It just really stuck out to me. I thought it was interesting.
it's true. I like the characters too. They were like really, I don't know. Well, the one guy was like super goofy. And at first I'm like, okay, you're a bit much, tone it down. But then after a while, I'm like, I like getting characters that are unique in this show because usually everyone's just kind of, I don't know, themselves, but like a little bit scared or something.
Yeah.
But it's neat to have a caricature in the show too.
Another little thing I noticed, which is again not a big thing, but typically Rod Serling only does his little thing where when he's doing his like narration, he'll say "in the Twilight Zone" at the end of it. Usually he only does that at the end, but he actually did it at the start in this one as well.
Yeah.
So just a little thing, just a little.
I like the mannequins a lot. I thought there were a few times where I was staring at the screen like, is that a real person? And then they'll like fall over like a mannequin, like, oh, that was a fake person. I guess I'm not very good at spotting it.
Yeah,
I
it's
thought
funny.
they were really good.
It's funny you say that because I was I thought it was kind of obvious to a point, and my only complaint with that because I liked it they looked kind of fake and like obviously mannequins because it made them creepier, right?
Well,
My,
there were a couple of scenes where I couldn't tell, like the last shot too, especially I thought looked really good.
um, now I think it's just there's like a shininess to it, but my only complaint with this though is that at the end of the episode, not the final shot where it's just her, like it's like it's the busy working day, and the manager sort of notices the mannequin and goes, huh, and he has like this little moment of recognition where he's like, oh, it's like that woman. That's weird. Huh. But the one little complaint I'd have with that is that I wish they'd done some sort of transition because the scene before this, when they're all together, the mannequins are together and they explain what's happening, and the woman who sold her the thimbles, the one who's meant to be leaving for the month, she's left alone with the elevator mannequin, and they do this thing where they sort of freeze like mid motion, where they essentially become still mannequins again. But it was really obvious that it's just like them holding still because it doesn't look different.
Yeah.
And I almost wish that they'd done. I don't know what the effect would have been in 1960 on TV, but like a transition to just sort of so they started to look more shiny or something. I don't know. like,
Yeah, I guess. I mean, the close-ups of the mannequins, I thought, okay, they obviously look like mannequins, but like some of the further away parts, I wasn't able to spot the difference. I kept waiting for them to move around a little bit more, but every time the mannequins did move around, like just subtly to scare her, it was clearly still a mannequin arm or like somebody just shaking it.
There was two basically sections building up to the reveal that were really good. There was her sneaking around, and like you say, there was like moments where like the mannequin arm would just sort of like move like just an inch like that, as if it'd been pulled or whatever. One of the lady mannequins, like her purse started dangling, kind of thing. It was all these little things. But then the other big thing that happened up until the end was where they all start coming to life. So it's clearly all real people, pretend to be mannequins. But as she walks by each one, sort of like trying to escape the horde, it keeps getting bigger because every time she walks past one, the next one steps down, and they all just keep coming. And I thought that was an effective little build of a scene that kind of, it built up and had a nice escalation to it, which was cool. The one thing is though, it's one of those things where it's the same thing in like something like Star Trek, or because Star Trek's done this a few times where they'll be like, something makes them all freeze. So, or maybe all but one character are frozen in time or whatever. There was an episode in the original series where that was kind of like there were, the enemies were moving so fast that everyone appeared to be still. So we had like scenes of these people walking around, and Kirk and everyone were pretending to be still. There's this like inherent shakiness to a person when they're trying to be perfectly still that it's really easy to spot, and once you're looking for it, you can kind of see it in certain people who are pretending to be still.
People don't stay totally still; they just kind of wave a little bit. Yeah,
there's a little shakiness, and it reminded me of that a little bit because I could kind of see it. I guess it's one of those things where you only really see it in the close-ups though, so it's a good bit of advice if you're ever going to do this where someone's going to have to pretend to be perfectly still. Do a wide shot, because it's not as noticeable in a wide shot. You can get away with it, but in a close-up, you see it. You see it heavily. But that's not complaining. I thought it was a really effective little episode, and I think we should talk about the messaging of the episode, the possible sort of story behind the story here. what do you think this means? What do you think it represents? This idea that this woman is not really a woman; she is a mannequin who got to take a turn being a woman. Do you think this is talking about commercialism in some way? Do you think this is talking about how trapped we all are, and and physical belongings?
I think it would have been if she was a human from the beginning and who became like a store mannequin who just like is so in this world all the time, then she becomes part of it, like permanently.
Okay, well,
but coming from commercialism and then living, no, I'm not really seeing it.
Okay, I'll pose an alternative. How about the idea that we give such meaning to some things that they eventually take a life of their own? So the idea that, especially if you think about the time period here, how where we are as a society in the 60s, where it's really kind of like we're just sort of still in the early days of like commercialism in the sense, not commercialism as a whole, but the idea that like even the working class are starting to be like marketable too, if that makes sense. Does that
sure? Yeah.
Because obviously poor people in the 20s weren't buying clothes from department stores. They weren't doing that kind of thing. But I think the 50s out of the 60s is where that kind of turns around, and then everyone get depressed again because of Vietnam. But like that's kind of that era, and I wonder if it's like this idea that we give such meaning to these types of objects, to the ideals of having these things from department stores, that they almost take a life of their own and want to take back from us. And that's kind of like this is the start of it, like the mannequins coming and taking apart a slice of the world, as it were, one at a time. I don't know.
I like it.
I don't have a concrete answer here. I'm genuinely wanting to sit and theorize. Like, I'm not saying I've got an answer that I'm teasing or trying to draw at you. I'm spitballing.
Yeah, I mean, the thought had crossed my mind too when I was watching it, but it was more on by the end of the episode, I thought, I don't think it's saying anything about commercialism, but I don't know. I think if it wanted to make that message, it could have done a better job easily to make that more clear. So I think maybe it's there, but I don't think it's intentional.
No, I would disagree with that in the sense. Not that I'd argue. I'm not necessarily disagreeing that it's not in this particular story, but I don't necessarily think it has to be more in your face to be intentional. Some of my favorite like interpretations of certain like movies or TV shows tend to be stuff that you do have to draw out a little bit. You have to kind of dig a little deeper.
I mean, I don't think that was the intention of the episode. I think it was more like mannequins are kind of creepy because they look like us, but it's off. So let's make a episode about that.
But to be fair though, Rod Serling and Twilight Zone usually have meanings. They usually have messages. There's usually some subtext.
I mean, maybe like half of them.
So you're on the record.
Or like the other half is just all the same message of I hate my life. I wish I lived a different life.
I don't think I would agree there's no subtext though. I think there is subtext there, but I think it's intentionally a little bit more off, just a little bit less less in your face. Like I think you could probably take a few different meanings from this episode. I mean, I gave you kind of two, just from a quick bit of thought. That's a fun episode though. I think even without looking for a deeper hidden meaning, there's just a fun creepiness to it. It's one of these things where it's a sort of twist where I expect they're probably going to repeat this twist, because there's been a couple of other ones where they've repeated things and they've not been as good when they do them again. I get the sense that there's going to be a very similar thing to this a few times, where the twist is the main character is one of the things that they're running from. Like, we're probably going to get that again,
right? So,
and that's okay. Maybe they'll.
I think I could think of at least one of them, actually.
Yeah, maybe we'll get different spins on it to kind of freshen it up with some other element that's not in this one, but generally creepy. Like, honestly, the stuff where she's on her own and it's really quiet in the second half of the episode was very effective, and I can't really fault it too much in that sense.
No, I really like this one too. Pretty good.
Yeah, and the actress was pretty solid. I thought she did a good job from kind of.
Is she from something else?
I don't know.
Familiar.
Let's find out. Anne Francis. That does sound familiar, actually. That name. Forbidden Planet.
Oh,
That's the first thing in the known for column.
how about that? We're gonna watch that one day.
Yeah, on Ace. Of course. All right, so as always, Rod Serling showed up at the end and told us about next week. And it was an athlete, I think he was saying.
Yeah, it looked like he was in some kind of locker room
It was
with a bunch of
baseball, that's
booze.
right. Yeah, he was talking about baseball. So it's called The Mighty Casey, and here's a description on IMDb. A down-and-out baseball team's fortunes are lifted by a mysterious but seemingly unbeatable young player.
Ooh.
Interesting. And I do recognize an actor in here, from the images, and I'm sure it's Jack Warden here. Yes, he was in 12 Angry Men. Do you know what? I knew it was going to be 12 Angry Men before I even clicked on it. He's one of the 12 Angry Men guys.
Jack Warden.
He just does. So that's the next episode. So look forward to that. But that has been episode 34 of the Twilight Zone. We have 2 episodes left of season 1, so that should be fun. And then we can do our best of the season, which should also be fun. So you can, of course, let us know what you thought of the episode in the comments below. You can like and subscribe, and make sure you ding that bell on YouTube for the notifications. And you can, of course, get us on Twitter at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. You can support everything we do by liking the podcast on Apple Podcasts. Give us 5 stars, and people find it easier because it's higher up in lists and, recommendations and things like that. You also support us financially, of course. Tara, how can they do that?
You can check out our Patreon page. It's patreon.com/MildFuzzTV. Donating as low as $1 per month will get you bonus episodes of other shows we do, including the Ace, which is our science fiction movie podcast. So go over and check it out. Thank you.
Well said. That is pretty much us, though. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys, and Twilight Zone.